The battlefield of the Andarian expanse stretched out under twin suns, a canvas of dust and metal where warriors from countless star systems gathered. Captain Elias Ward stood at the edge of the arena, observing the alien competitors with quiet focus. He had trained for years for moments like this, not for brute strength but for strategy, for seeing what others could not. Around him, alien soldiers flexed powerful limbs, their eyes glinting with confidence. They assumed humans were fragile, clever only in minor skirmishes, not in battles that determined intergalactic status. The contest had begun days earlier, and Elias had already made a name for himself. While the others relied on their size and weapons, he used traps, clever maneuvers, and insight into opponent behavior. The aliens were puzzled. How could a human outperform those who could crush entire machines with a single strike? But Elias did not mind their confusion. He had learned long ago that perception often outshines reality. The final stage of the contest was to select a prize, a companion from among the alien princesses who represented the strongest kingdoms in the galaxy. The participants lined up, regal and imposing, each one radiating power in a way that made the humans seem insignificant. They were towering, armored, with claws, wings, or psychic abilities. And then there was Lyra, the youngest princess of the Dravenian Empire. She was small, frail-looking, and quiet, her presence almost invisible compared to the others. As the overseer called out the winner, the crowd hushed. Elias stepped forward, his gaze calm and steady. He had calculated everything, from the trials to the political repercussions. Many assumed he would choose the most powerful princess, the one whose strength could match the legends he had faced. They expected a bold, obvious choice. Instead, he turned to Lyra. Gasps echoed through the arena. The towering aliens shifted, some sneering, others openly mocking. "The weakest!" one growled in disbelief. "Does he not see her frailty?" Lyra herself did not react immediately. Her violet eyes widened slightly, a faint blush coloring her cheeks, but she remained composed. There was no fear, only a quiet curiosity, as if she understood something no one else did. "Why her?" a rival competitor demanded. "She cannot even lift a weapon properly." Elias smiled faintly. "Strength is not always what it seems. I choose someone whose mind is sharp and who can adapt. There is more to survival than brute power." The arena erupted in whispers. Some found his choice foolish, others intriguing. Commander Vryn, the alien overseer, frowned, suspicion etched across his scaled face. He had seen many humans underestimate challenges and fail. But Elias had consistently proven he could think beyond conventional limits. Perhaps there was more to this choice than met the eye. As they left the arena together, the crowd's attention shifted. A sudden alarm blared. An ambush. A rival faction of aliens had chosen this moment to strike, believing the ceremony provided an easy target. Lasers cut across the sky, and the ground shook with the impact of heavy energy blasts. Panic spread quickly among the gathered delegations. Elias reacted instantly. "Stay close," he instructed Lyra, his voice calm despite the chaos. She nodded, moving with surprising agility. Though small, she had a grace and awareness that belied her size. She followed his movements, anticipating his next step, her presence both reassuring and effective. While the stronger aliens relied on brute force, charging headfirst into the enemy ranks, Elias and Lyra moved like shadows. He dodged attacks, creating openings and distractions. She assisted without hesitation, pointing out concealed hazards, guiding him away from traps, and signaling the approach of hidden enemy units. Their coordination was seamless, a silent understanding forming between them. A massive alien brute charged toward them, swinging a weapon the size of a human vehicle. Elias ducked, rolling aside, while Lyra pressed a lever on a nearby control panel. A trapdoor opened beneath the attacker, and he fell with a crash that sent tremors through the arena. Other soldiers paused, shocked. The princess, small and seemingly weak, had outmaneuvered a giant. The two of them pressed on, weaving through chaos, reaching the edge of the battlefield. By the time reinforcements arrived, they had already secured a safe zone and rescued several delegations trapped in the attack. The onlookers were silent, realizing that the humans' choice was far from foolish. Lyra's intelligence and quick thinking had saved lives, her strength revealed not in her muscles, but in her mind and courage. As the smoke cleared, Elias glanced at Lyra. "You did well," he said simply. She nodded, her violet eyes shining. "I followed your lead," she replied. "I've never seen strategy like yours before. You think ahead in ways I hadn't imagined." Elias smiled. "And you see the possibilities where others see limitations. That's why I chose you. Not for appearances, but for potential." Lyra studied him for a moment, then smiled faintly. It was a small gesture, but Elias recognized it. Trust was being formed, not through words or ceremony, but through shared experience. In a galaxy where strength was often measured in size or weaponry, they had proven that collaboration, intelligence, and courage could redefine the measure of power. The aftermath of the ambush left the delegations shaken. Leaders whispered among themselves, reassessing human capability. For centuries, humans had been underestimated. Their technology was often simpler, their soldiers smaller, their presence considered minor in the vast interstellar landscape. But now, those assumptions were beginning to crack. The demonstration had been subtle but undeniable. Strategy, adaptability, and courage could outweigh sheer force. Later, as they moved away from the battlefield, Elias and Lyra walked through a quiet corridor of the ship that would take them to the next stage of the Alliance mission. She studied him silently, curiosity mingling with admiration. "Why do you think others cannot see strength as we do?" she asked after a moment. "Because they equate power with size or weapons," Elias replied. "They measure strength superficially. But real strength is knowing your limits and using what you have. It's about intelligence, adaptability, and character. That is how humans survive against odds that seem impossible." Lyra nodded, absorbing his words. "I understand now. I see why you chose me. I may not have the muscle, but I can think, plan, and act. Together we can overcome what alone we could not." Elias's expression was thoughtful. "Exactly. And that is why appearances can be deceiving. Never judge by what is visible. True capability lies deeper." Their conversation was interrupted by the ship's communication system. Commander Vrin's face appeared on the screen, his scaled features tight with concern. "Captain Ward, Princess Lyra, your actions on the battlefield have not gone unnoticed. The Alliance Council wishes to evaluate the potential of this human-alien team. Prepare for debriefing upon arrival." Elias nodded. "Understood, Commander." He turned to Lyra. "Looks like our partnership is about to be tested further." She smiled, a mix of anticipation and resolve. "Then we will be ready." As the ship lifted off the surface, leaving behind the battlefield where human ingenuity had turned the tide, Elias reflected on the choice he had made. It was easy to see why others would underestimate Lyra, but he had always believed that the strongest allies are not those who overpower, but those who can adapt, think, and act when circumstances are unpredictable. And in Lyra, he had found such an ally. The stars stretched out before them, a vast expanse of possibilities and challenges. The galaxy was full of surprises, and Elias knew that this was only the beginning. Together, they would navigate the treacherous political landscape, hostile alien factions, and unexpected crises that awaited them. And when they did, the reason he chose the weakest princess would become clear to everyone, not just the aliens, but the galaxy itself. For now, though, The silence of space was comforting. Side by side, human and alien, soldier and princess, they traveled forward. And in that quiet partnership, the seeds of something extraordinary were already taking root. The twin suns of the Andarian expanse reflected off the hull of their ship, glinting like distant jewels. Strength, they both knew, was more than appearance. And in the days to come, the galaxy would learn that lesson the hard way. The ship glided through the dark stretches of space, leaving behind the chaos of the Andarian expanse. Captain Elias Ward sat in the command room, reviewing maps and alliance data. Princess Lyra sat beside him, her violet eyes tracing the star charts with quiet fascination. Though physically smaller than the alien royals they had seen, she had a sharp mind and a keen eye for detail. Elias knew the partnership he had chosen was already proving its worth. They were not alone for long. Communication systems beeped urgently, and an encrypted message blinked on the console. A rival alien faction, the Krovani, had captured a high-ranking delegate in a nearby sector and demanded a hefty ransom in exchange for safe release. Intelligence suggested that Lyra's status as a princess made her an even more attractive target. Her abduction could destabilize the Dravenian Empire and shift the political balance in the region. Elias studied the report carefully. "This is not a simple rescue," he said. "The Krovani have fortified positions, traps, and forces far superior to ours. We must plan carefully." Lyra leaned forward. "Then we will plan carefully, but we cannot wait too long. They may act quickly if they sense hesitation." Elias smiled faintly. She had the right instincts. Humans often relied on strategy and improvisation, while many alien factions acted with overconfidence. Lyra's blend of intellect and calm decisiveness made her invaluable. They arrived at the Krovani system under the cover of darkness. The enemy's outpost floated like a jagged fortress in space, heavily armed and patrolled. Elias and Lyra surveyed it through long-range scanners. "Direct attack would be suicide," Elias said. "We need to exploit weaknesses, distractions, and misdirection." Lyra's mind was already racing. "There are 2 supply bays on opposite sides," she noted. "If we can create disturbances simultaneously, we can draw the guards away from the main entrance. I can disable the security systems from inside while you move in." Elias nodded. "Perfect. That's why I chose you." They approached in a stealth craft, shadows against the backdrop of distant stars. When they were within range, Lyra moved with grace and precision. She navigated the vents, bypassed sensors, and quietly neutralized automated defenses. Elias coordinated movements outside, creating calculated distractions and confusing patrols. The Krovani assumed they were facing a single small-scale intrusion, unaware that the true threat came in 2 forms: human ingenuity and the subtle brilliance of the princess they had underestimated. Inside the fortress, Lyra located the imprisoned delegate. She studied the locks, devices, and alarms carefully. "These are crude but effective," she murmured, analyzing the system. Using a combination of human technology Elias had given her and her own sharp reasoning, she disabled the alarms one by one. The door clicked open, and the delegate stepped out, astonished at the efficiency of their rescue. Meanwhile, Elias engaged the Krovani forces outside, not with brute force, but with clever traps. Explosions and decoy signals misled the enemy into thinking the main force had arrived elsewhere. Alien soldiers chased shadows while Lyra and the captive moved stealthily through corridors, evading detection. When they reached the central control room, a squad of heavily armored Krovani soldiers blocked their path. Elias paused, calculating. "Lyra, follow my lead, but stay ready for improvisation," he said. She nodded, understanding immediately. Elias launched a small EMP device, temporarily disabling the soldiers' energy shields. Lyra darted forward, using the disrupted moment to guide the group past the guards and toward the extraction point. Every step was precise, every movement coordinated. Together, human and princess were unstoppable. Not because of raw power, but because they complemented each other perfectly. At the escape bay, the Kravani realized they had been outsmarted. They fired desperately, but the ship Elias had prepared for extraction arrived on time. With a combination of speed, planning, and Lyra's sharp interventions, they escaped without a scratch. Once in safe orbit, the tension eased. The delegate expressed gratitude, and Lyra finally spoke with a smile. "I understand now. You didn't choose me because I was easy to control or weak. You saw my mind, my ability to think, and my courage. Together we can do more than any of the others could alone." Elias nodded. "Exactly. Strength isn't always measured in muscle. It's measured in intelligence, adaptability, and teamwork. You have all of those qualities, and you complemented my own. That's why I chose you." Lyra's smile deepened. "I never imagined anyone would see my value beyond appearances. I trust you, Captain Ward, and I will do my best to prove that your trust is not misplaced." Over the following days, the partnership between human and alien princess grew stronger. They faced political intrigue, hostile factions, and natural dangers on uncharted worlds. Each challenge reinforced the lesson. Underestimated individuals can achieve extraordinary results when their talents are recognized and utilized. Elias often relied on ingenuity and quick thinking, while Lyra brought insight, strategy, and subtle manipulations that few others could anticipate. One particularly dangerous mission took them to a planet ravaged by storms and seismic instability. An alien convoy carrying critical supplies had crashed, and rival factions sought to seize the goods. Many soldiers and leaders saw it as impossible terrain, but Elias and Lyra analyzed the environment. They devised a plan to navigate the unstable landscape using collapsible bridges, diversionary signals, and precise timing to retrieve the supplies before the enemy could intercept them. Once again, what others considered weakness, human size, Princess Lyra's delicate appearance, proved irrelevant compared to intelligence and courage. In council meetings with other galactic leaders, Elias and Lyra demonstrated how humans could contribute to diplomacy and strategy, not just combat. Lyra's calm reasoning and sharp insight impressed even the most skeptical rulers. For years, humans had been underestimated, dismissed as fragile and unpredictable. But under Elias's guidance and Lyra's influence, perceptions began to shift. Humanity's reputation grew, not as conquerors or brutes, but as clever, adaptable, and reliable allies. The climax of their story came during a large-scale diplomatic summit where tensions between multiple alien empires threatened to erupt into war. A sudden crisis emerged. A saboteur attempted to disable the summit's security systems, potentially allowing an invasion. Many of the alien leaders panicked, unsure how to respond. Elias and Lyra acted instantly. Using a combination of human ingenuity and Lyra's knowledge of alien technology, they identified the saboteur, neutralized the threat, and restored order before anyone could react. The outcome was clear. The human soldier who chose the weakest princess had not only saved lives but also prevented war. The reason for his choice, seeing potential where others saw weakness, was revealed to all. Strength could be quiet, subtle, and intelligent. The galaxy had learned a valuable lesson, and human reputation soared. In the final moments of the summit, Lyra turned to Elias, her expression both serious and warm. "You took a risk by choosing me, Captain Ward. Most would never have understood. But now the entire galaxy knows that strength is more than appearances. I'm proud to have been chosen, and proud to stand beside you." Elias met her gaze and smiled. "And I am proud to have chosen correctly. You've proven that courage, intelligence, and adaptability are the truest measures of strength. Together, we have shown that humanity can rise above expectations. The twin suns of another star system glimmered outside the windows of the council chamber. Lyra's hand briefly touched the edge of the table, steadying herself, but there was no hesitation in her movements. She had grown into her role, not the weakest, but one of the most capable, her abilities amplified by human ingenuity and mutual trust. Elias looked around at the other leaders, their expressions now filled with newfound respect. The human soldier and the so-called weakest princess had changed the course of galactic politics, proving that underestimated allies could redefine the future. And for Elias, it was simple. Never judge strength by appearance, and never underestimate the value of a mind that could see beyond the obvious. As the summit ended, Lyra and Elias walked together under the observation deck's stars, a quiet partnership forged in trials and danger. "Do you think humans will always be underestimated?" Lyra asked. "Perhaps," Elias replied. "But we've shown that perception is not reality. And when humans act with purpose and intelligence, even the strongest aliens will take notice." Lyra smiled. "Then we will continue to act, and continue to show what we are capable of." Elias nodded, the stars reflected in his eyes. "Together, we will." And so, the galaxy began to see humanity differently, not as weak, not as insignificant, but as a species capable of extraordinary insight, courage, and adaptability. The weakest princess and the human soldier had proven that appearances could deceive, that strategy and intellect could outshine brute strength, and that true power often lay where no one expected to find it. In the quiet of space, as their ship sailed toward new horizons, Elias and Lyra understood the unspoken truth. They had changed the galaxy, and in doing so, they had shown that the underestimated could become the most formidable force of all.